Welcome back to Multi Recaps. Today we're diving into a movie named Careful What You Wish For. The movie begins with someone telling us that summer has this air that feels like anything can happen, and that this summer something indeed happened to him. That someone is Doug. We then jump back to Doug arriving to begin his summer vacation. He and his parents get a nice house. His best friend Carson is also with them. He is excited about the girl they will meet in here. A little later, Doug comes back to the house. Then he sees a gorgeous woman stepping out the next door. It seems like they are planning to buy the house next to them. The gorgeous girl is touring the house when she notices Doug is staring at her. Then he immediately hides outside. He sees her and both lick eye contact before she leaves. Later that day, Doug walks back to the house when his mom and dad want him to meet their new neighbor Elliot, the husband of that beautiful girl. Elliot and Doug seem to have a shared passion for boat, so Elliot invites him to take a look at his boat tomorrow. Maybe he is hiring him. Next day, Doug goes to check the boat, and at this moment the beautiful girl steps out of the water. Doug is mesmerized by her. Then Elliot arrives and hires him on the spot. That night, Doug comes back home. When he sees Lena, both get to know each other as Lena. She tells him she locked herself out and needs help to get in. Then it starts raining and Doug successfully gets her in her house by breaking a window of the house. She realizes that he is bleeding, so she invites him in. She reminds him that Elliot is on a trip right now. Both stare at each other. Doug can't resist her and goes for the kiss. Both end up making love. The next morning, Lena tells Doug to not tell anybody about this. She knows what they did is wrong. Doug then goes back to his room all excited. He can't believe what happened. Days go by and Doug is heavily at work on Elliot's boat while stalking Lena. One day she comes to him saying that her husband wants her to check. How is he coming along with the boat? Inside the boat, she tells him she thought about him the entire week. She adds that she always dreamed of disappearing and just want them both to sail to the horizon, leaving everything behind, and as expected, both end up making love for the second time. Same night, while working at the bar, Doug sees Lena with Elliot and notices she worried. The following day, Elliot tells Doug he has to leave out of town again. He also adds that he likes Doug because he is not like the other kids partying. He takes things seriously. As soon as Elliot leaves, Doug is back hanging out with Lena. Doug notices a half-heart tattoo, and she tells him the person she used to love has the other half. She gives him untraceable phones, stating that Elliot is paranoid and that he has no idea what he is capable of. On this moment, the gardener sees them kissing. Days later, Elliot invites Doug for a ride with Lena on the boat. During the ride, Elliot acts as like a prick. When he is back turned to them, Lena confesses to Doug that she plans on asking him for divorce. Same night, Lena calls Doug in tears, saying he slapped her again. He rushes to comfort her. Following day, Lena worries that Elliot will eventually figure it out. Later that day, she comes to his room, saying something bad happened. She is in shock. She brings him to her house and Doug finds Elliot is dead. She tells him she hit him in self-defense. Doug wants to call 911, but she is scared to be accused of murder. Then Doug tells her to act normal. They will figure it out. He suggests they have to make it look like an accident, but she doesn't believe it's possible. Doug puts his body in his car and drag it to the boat. He then sails with it. The following day, police finds Elliot's body. Doug sees them at the house in front and becomes anxious. They announce the news to Lena, who pretends to be shocked and terrified. Doug then remembers last night, and we learn that he left the body on boat then set it on fire. Same night, Doug learns from the cops at the bar that there is a huge insurance money involved, $10 million for the wife. Next day, Angie from the insurance company arrives to the city to investigate that if it was an accident. She is the only thing standing between Lena and $10 million. Angie's first order of business is interviewing Lena. Sometime later, an officer who works at the dock comes to Sheriff Jack and tells him he saw someone riding Elliot's boat that night. The next day Angie and Jack are going through the property. She finds a broken glass. Doug watches them and panics. Angie notices him. Later that day Carson reveals to Doug that accidentally told the cops that he had a mystery woman. Doug gets mad and screams on him. There is no woman. The walls seem to be closing in. As the next day, Angie comes to his house to interview his parents. Doug is more than anxious. She wants to have Doug to come to the station for questioning. He panics and calls Lena, but she doesn't answer. Then he is brought to questioning. After it, he receives a text from Lena saying they need to talk now. So he rushes to his hidden spot where they meet. Doug is mad at her because panicked and lied. She had a stalker. Then he hides their secret phones. As soon as he gets back home, Angie is already at his house, and they take their fingerprints. He is anxious hearing that. They are looking deeply in that broken window. Angie then takes him aside and tells him she knows he was stalking her, that his blood will match the broken window, and literally tells him what really was going on. But Doug gets stressed and goes to Carson to confess everything. Carson tells him to get rid of all evidences and go talk to Jack right away. Meanwhile, his mom finds some panties in his room. Doug talks to Jack. Jack tells him if there is something he wants to say, he would be a good person to say it to. At this time, Doug's parents call him to talk to him ASAP. When he leaves, Jack takes the glass Doug was drinking to analyze fingerprints. An hour later, he is told the fingerprints match Doug's. At the same time, Doug confesses everything to his parents. Jack also arrives as courtesy. He informs the parents that he knows. Then Carson messages Doug saying he heard that the gardener is dead, so his only options are to get those phones to prove that Lena was involved in this. As well, he rushes to his secret spot. While Angie is following him, he reaches and right before taking the phones, Lena comes in kissing him. Doug then realizes the phones aren't there, and Lena reveals she punched herself. Then she starts screaming and the cops enters, arresting Doug, thinking he was assaulting her. Then Doug asks Jack sometimes to find the proof. Jack gives him 20 minutes and let him escape. After this, Doug rushes to Lena's hotel room. He finds the phone, but Angie enters with Lena, who comes out of the restroom. Doug tells Angie to look at the phone, which has all the proofs. She looks at the phone and realizes he was saying the truth. She then tells Doug to stay here. He is clear while leaving. Doug sees them touching as well as the other half-heart tattoo on Angie's leg. He puts 2 and 2 together and realizes they were working together. They played him both are lovers. They both flew away with that $10 million. The movie ends with Doug in the future coming back from prison. He tells us he doesn't regret anything. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video.